Bernie Sanders was recently on the Joe Rogan podcast, and it wasn't his best outing, to say the least. Now, Bernie Sanders is 83 years old, so you do kind of want to give him a pass for not being as sharp as he was, let's say, 10 years ago. Now, while on the podcast, I feel like a lot of us generally we believe that Bernie Sanders wants the best for America. Maybe his methods isn't the best, but he does genuinely want the best for America, and he's a freedom fighter. However, during this podcast episode, Joe Rogan sort of caught Bernie Sanders in the middle of a lot of hypocrisy, where when certain rules apply to certain people, but when it comes to his friends, it don't necessarily apply. Like he will call out other people for things that his own friends are doing, but will refuse to call out his friends. Like this started off with the Elon Musk and Trump conversation, where Bernie Sanders will call out Elon Musk for giving a lot of money to Republicans. However, he refused to mention how Kamala Harris raised $1.5 billion in a span of a couple of months.
As a result of the Citizens United Supreme Court decision, I think it's 15, 16 years old, what it says is you're a billionaire. You have now the constitutional right, because your money is your freedom of expression, right? So you don't like Bernie Sanders? You can put millions or hundreds of millions of dollars into a campaign and express your view about how terrible Bernie Sanders is,
right.
And you can buy that election, right? That's
right.
Your constitutional right. I think that's probably the worst decision that the Supreme Court has ever made. So what is the result of that decision? The result of that decision, let's take us to where we are today, is that Elon Musk, and I know Elon was on your show, and he's here in Austin, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, and we could talk about Elon, but he spent $270 million to elect Trump as president. Okay, I think that's absurd that any one person.
What's the most someone donated towards the Harris campaign?
They spent a lot of money on Harris as well.
They spent $1.5 billion just
combined
over the course of a couple of months.
You got it.
That's why I don't really agree with taking allegiance to a particular side, because once you pledge your allegiance to a particular side or a particular party, it kind of feels like you have to ride with your team and not call out the truth. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't feel like Bernie was completely, like outwitted during this interview, or I don't feel like there's no good takeaways from this interview, because Bernie was spitting when he mentioned like the BlackRock and Vanguard situation, where they own like 95% of American corporations. That's flawed, right? Something is wrong with that picture. Like BlackRock, I believe, owns like 95% or 90% of UMG, but they're also like the largest distributor of private prisons. So they're pushing the music that lead people to prisons while also benefiting from the free labor that comes into their prison, right? So again, Bernie has a point with that. So this is not all bad. I don't want y'all to think that this is just like a Bernie Sanders hate video, but there's also is a lot of other hypocrisy. But check out his statements on BlackRock that I believe is very important, and everybody needs to hear this.
You remember there was a day where somebody actually owned General Motors or owned Ford. Mm-hmm. They're now owned by Wall Street firms. You got 3 Wall Street investment firms. BlackRock, you're familiar with BlackRock. They're
Vanguard
giant.
and State Street.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Check it out on Google. They are combined, the 3 of them combined, are the major stockholders of 95% of American corporations. How's that?
That's not good.
That's power.
Right. How did that start, and what could have been done to stop that from happening?
Well, I think it's greed. These guys are smart. They're hardworking. They're motivated. They want more and more. So if I can buy this, I can buy this. I can sell this.
Right, but they're all doing it within the law, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But
which is that the problem?
Yeah. But who makes that law?
They do.
And they're able to do this because they buy elections, they buy presidents, they're able to buy their way to laws being changed. That's wrong. That's messed up. And Bernie Sanders is right on the money when he calls it out. However, you can call it out for one side, but don't call it out for the other. You can call out Elon Musk for giving $200 million to Trump, but don't call out George Soros and the other people who have donated to Bernie Sanders and given Bernie Sanders a lot of money as well. You don't get to do that, bro. Now, you are right with the point, but hypocrisy will ultimately squash everything you're trying to say. Bernie Sanders would also bring up climate change. Now, Bernie Sanders swears by the Washington Post. He swears by them. He loves them. So Joe Rogan did something very tactical. He used the Washington Post to debunk what Bernie Sanders was saying about climate change. And Bernie Sanders was kind of stumbling, not really knowing what to do or what to say.
You got to deal with this climate change issue. And I know that, there are some people who think climate change is a hoax. It ain't a hoax. I think the last 10 years have been the warmest on record. And we can create millions of good-paying jobs transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency, to solar, to wind, and other sustainable energies.
I think the climate change issue is very complicated. And I think, did you see the Washington Post piece that they wrote where they did this long-term view? First of all, the reality is that the Earth's temperature has never been static, right? We could both agree on that. It's always been up and down. There's been ice ages and heat waves. And then the Washington Post looked at it. What was the time period that they looked at? That essentially they found that we're in a cooling period. That the Earth over the past X amount of years, and this was like a very inconvenient discovery, but they had to report the data, and kudos to them for doing that. Scientists have captured the Earth's climate change over the last 485 million years. Here's a surprising place we stand now. So look at the far end of that graph, and you see we're in a cooling period.
Well, I'm not sure. I didn't read that article, but
Yeah.
The scientists who are out there, I think.
I know, but there's a lot of money involved in that too, Bernie. That's part of the problem. There's a lot of money involved in this whole climate change emergency issue, and there's a lot of control, and that's a big part of this problem.
The wealthy, the ultra wealthy has been creating problems and selling the solutions to the problems they created for years. Usually, like once you extend past that $10 billion, you tripling that 10, 20, 40. Yo, when you get into the 100 billion, that's when I'm looking at you a little sideways, bro. When I see somebody get to that 100 billion mark, okay, yeah, you got some bodies in your closet, homie. You got some bodies in your closet, bro. You done created a lot of issues for the world, and you done sold a lot of solutions for those issues you created. So would I be surprised that people are lying about the numbers? People are lying about the graphs. People are lying about certain things, so, they could get money from the government. They could fund these researchers to cure the climate change. I don't know. Hey, man, YouTube apparently got a guidelines to where we can't speak on certain things. So I don't know. That's what they're discussing. That's what they're talking about. Could somebody potentially have created this hoax in their bedroom so they can, get tens of billions of dollars in research funding for this that we still don't got a cure for? Bruh, you don't need billions of dollars for research on this when all you're going to tell us to do is, hey, bruh, can you carpool so y'all can save on polluting the air? Hey, bruh, can you, I don't know, man, maybe buy electrical cars instead. Come on, bro. Bro. Y'all been getting billions of dollars for years for these researchers, but y'all been telling us to throw our cans away for I don't know how long, man. Cut it out, bro. Now, Bernie Sanders will call out the media, but here's the thing, though. He calls out the media for their bias towards Trump, but then when Rogan brings up like 60 Minutes and CBS, Bernie Sanders spent the next 10 minutes trying to change the conversation, not really wanting to touch on it.
Right. And I got to say, one of the things, and there was a lot of arguments about Trump, that worries me very, very much is this movement toward authoritarianism and going after media, suing media, taking away the authority that Congress has.
When you say suing media, are you talking about the CBS lawsuit?
Among other things.
Right, but don't you think there's a real issue with what they did?
No. In this sense,
you don't think that there's a real issue in editing conversations to give someone an answer
Joe,
that's different than what they really answered?
Joe, I've been on 8 zillion shows, right? In my life.
Okay.
Now, should I sue you if you ask me some stupid question that I don't like, right? Or that you do something. Should I sue you?
Yeah, but that's not what he's getting. Well,
he has sued. He has sued ABC. Mm-hmm. He has sued Meta. He is suing the Des Moines Register because of a poll that came out during the campaign that he didn't like. All right. He is suing CBS for this Kamala Harris interview. So do I think I cannot tell you the number of stories done about me that were not good stories.
Right.
That were dishonest stories. That's what a free press is about. You don't like it, you got to live with it. All right? You do something, I'm not going to sue you, Joe.
Right, but it's not that simple, right? Like, let's not talk about Trump, but let's talk about another candidate. Let's just imagine there's someone on the right and someone on the left, and there's a concerted effort to promote this person that's on the right. And so the polls are rigged, or these are funded polls that make it look like this person on the right is winning by a substantial margin, and what this does is decreases the motivation that people have to come out and vote against them.
That's happening.
So it's fake.
By the way, that happens right now.
It is happening right now, and I think, is that part of what he's suing them about?
No, but doesn't look.
But isn't that what he's suing them about?
Well, he's suing ABC for one thing.
But with the Des Moines Register about the poll.
Yeah, I know the pollster there.
Was the poll incorrect?
Yeah, the poll was wrong. So what? Guess
Right.
what?
But what did they know it was incorrect when they published it?
No, they published what they thought was an accurate poll. But that pollster, by the way, what's the name? Seltzer polls.
I should just state for the record, I don't know this lawsuit. But
what it was about.
But I am aware that in talking to people that understand polls, that some of these are politically.
All right, but the answer is yes and no. There are polls right now doing exactly what you say.
Right.
I could doctor a poll. I could talk to more conservative, more progressive people, get the results that I kind of want, right?
And they do it to motivate people or demotivate people to vote, and it's effective.
Bernie is being super optimistic here, and you have to ask yourself, if ABC was Fox News, would Bernie be this optimistic? If Fox News posted a poll that had Kamala doing really, really, really bad and Trump doing really, really, really good, would Bernie believe that this was just like an innocent mistake, or would he believe this was deliberate to convince the masses that Kamala is doing really bad and Trump is doing really good? Because understanding that people are sheep, and if people sees that, Trump is doing 50 points higher than Kamala, they're probably going to side with Trump, and there's going to be publicity on how Trump is winning and influencing more people to ride with the winning team. All right? I'm sure Bernie would attach the negative stigma and connotation to whatever Fox News would have done if Fox News would have did this. ABC does it. Man, they just made an innocent mistake. Now, I don't have a party. I don't align with either party. I'm really in the middle. Do I believe that they made an innocent mistake? I don't. They're about to get into the CBS lawsuit as well, to where 60 Minutes will do a full-on interview with Kamala Harris. Then they would allow Kamala Harris and her team to record an answer to a question that they believe she didn't answer too well during the interview. They will record a full answer that's completely different from what she actually said during the interview, and they will send in that answer for them to insert in place of the real answer she gave during the interview. This was happening during election time. Now, if Bernie Sanders is being honest, he will say that was incredibly bad. They did this on purpose. These people are evil, but Bernie won't say this because he's in bed with CBS and 60 Minutes, and those are his friends.
There are honest pollsters who make mistakes.
But what about the other the other lawsuit with the conversation that they had with Kamala Harris, where they edited the answers that she had to make it look more precise?
60 Minutes, they were suing 60 Minutes.
Yes.
Is, to my mind, historically, they've been around for a very long time. They're not infallible, but I think you look at most objective people will say 60 Minutes has a sterling reputation for investigative journalism. Are they wrong?
But that's not investigative journalism if you change someone's answers. If you ask her a question and she comes with a rambling answer that doesn't make sense, and you edit that out and insert another answer to a different question that seems more cogent.
Joe, you're walking down, you're walking down a dangerous path. Suing media has the impact of intimidating media. All right, if somebody sues you, all right, let me finish. All right,
okay.
Somebody sues you. Why not you? You could be sued tomorrow, right? Because you are doing this. You're too sympathetic to this.
Right.
And Joe, you did that, and they have a big law firm behind you. You're going to have to spend zillions of dollars defending yourself. You know what? Next time you do an interview, you say, maybe I'm not going to go in that area. Right?
No, but it's not that. It's editing things to make this deceptive editing.
Joe,
so in deceptive editing, you give people a different perception of who this candidate is than reality.
Right, but you got to explain.
But that's not objective journalism.
I know, but
that's campaigning for that person.
Right, but
would you agree with that?
I don't have those details. I don't know that I agree with your analysis of it. I don't know enough.
I think that's universally accepted that
Well,
that's what they did.
Then you got to tell me why he is suing ABC. Why he's suing Meta.
Let's just talk about the 60 Minutes
No,
one
but
first.
no, but it's not just
we could go to ABC, but I'm not aware of that one
Well,
either.
George Stephanopoulos said something that he didn't like. But the point is,
what did Stephanopoulos say?
I can't remember. It was I honestly don't remember. But
well, I think what he was saying was factually incorrect about the results of one of Trump's trials.
All right. Guess what? If I were to sue everybody who said things that were factually incorrect about me, I'd be suing people zillions of times.
But
their past or track record don't matter, bruh. Usually, when you catch somebody in a lie, that's usually not their first lie. They've usually got a pattern of telling lies. Now, the thing is this. Bernie wants to give them credit for being, I guess, honest in their past. However, lying and being deceptive with the Kamala Harris interview, to me, is foul. Now, Bernie is taking this approach of the media should be able to lie due to freedom of press. I'm not under that belief, bro. Y'all know, as soon as I started making videos about Rock Nation, what happened? What took place? What took place? As soon as I started making videos about Rock Nation, you see now multiple channels are creating fake paperwork and telling lies about me. Now, I don't know if Rock Nation is behind this, so I'm not gonna put it, I'm not gonna say it. There was a channel that I actually now am preparing to sue. This channel made a video claiming that I was on the register offender list. Excuse me? Huh? This person said I got a federal, bro, I've never been to jail. Like, cut it out. I've never spent a night in prison. Like, y'all are out of your mind. But people began to lie on me because I guess I was going after Rock Nation or for whatever reason. So no, I don't believe it's freedom of press and people should be able to lie. No, freedom of press is you have the right to tell the truth. You have the right to give opinions, but you don't have the right to repeatedly lie and start a smear campaign on somebody. So no, I don't believe that Bernie Sanders is correct with this, man. Now, overall, I do think that Bernie Sanders got destroyed. Now, was this his best outing? No. Is this the worst outing on a Joe Rogan podcast? Absolutely not. Kash Patel was just on Joe Rogan, and we've seen how that worked out. But y'all let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this, man? Do y'all think Bernie is correct? Do he have a point? Do he not? Let me know, man. Listen, I try not to make videos on politics because it's always, 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 always really heated. But, hey, man, if you align with something particular that you believe that I am critiquing, just know it's not personal, man. All right? I love every one of y'all, regardless of y'all political decisions. Let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this? Yeah, man, let me know. And if you're still watching, click on this video right here to find out how this famous podcaster just made a really big mistake today that's going to end his podcast. Like, he effed up. I'm going to see you guys in this video somewhere on my screen. Out of here, folks. Peace.